My eyes burned as I pulled into the curb outside April's apartment complex. The dashboard clock read 7:58 a.m. I had finished a 14-hour shift just 20 minutes ago, my scrubs damp with sweat and hospital air. I rubbed at my neck where the fabric clung to my skin and sent April a quick text. "Hey, I'm outside." The reply came back a minute later. "Be down in a few." I leaned my head back, exhaling slowly. I didn't even have the energy to be irritated. This was supposed to be a quick stop. Pick her up, drive over to my cousin's engagement brunch in Los Lunas, smile, make small talk, maybe snag a few mimosas if I could keep my eyes open long enough. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I finally kicked off my shoes and crawled into the back seat, stretching out across the bench, using my gym bag as a pillow. The sun was already warming the interior. I cracked a window, the dry New Mexico air drifting in, and let my eyes close. I was halfway between consciousness and sleep when I heard the front door open and shut. "Ugh, finally," April mumbled, fiddling with something in her purse. I stayed still, not saying anything. My body was too heavy to move, too tired to care. Let her drive. I'd wake up before we got there. She started the engine, and the car's Bluetooth connected with a soft ding. "Calling Leo," a robotic voice announced. I frowned, still lying quietly in the back. Leo? I didn't recognize the name. A few seconds later, the call connected. "Hey, beautiful," a man's voice said through the speakers, deep, smooth, confident. "Missed you last night." April didn't say anything at first. I heard the click of her seatbelt and the gear shift. "I missed you too," she said, her voice dropping into that sing-song tone she used when she was flirting. "But you know I couldn't sneak out. He was off last night." My heart didn't race. It didn't drop into my stomach. It just stopped. Froze. The man laughed. "You really need to move out already. Tell that boy you need your space." April giggled. I know. I'm working on it. We've got that party thing today, remember? So I'll text you after." Something inside me started cracking, piece by piece. I stayed completely still, barely breathing. My eyes were wide open now, staring at the ceiling of my own car. The man said something else, something I couldn't quite hear over the sudden rush of blood in my ears. April laughed again. Then the call ended. She sat there a moment, humming softly as if nothing had happened. I quietly shifted my arm under my head, trying not to make a sound. My scrubs clung to my skin, the heat and sweat suddenly suffocating. 40 minutes I waited outside this apartment. 40 minutes while she was texting someone else. Now I knew who. She had no idea I was here in the back seat. And I wasn't about to say a word, not yet. The car crept out of the apartment lot, tires crunching softly over the gravel as April tapped the screen to play her usual playlist. I stayed quiet, lying still in the back seat, pretending I was asleep. My breathing was steady, eyes half-lidded, heart flatlined. I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet. About 2 blocks out, she adjusted the rearview mirror and froze. "Oh my God," she gasped. "Mark?" I sat up slowly, rubbing my eyes like I was groggy. "Yeah," I muttered, my voice rough from sleep. "Long shift. I didn't feel like sitting up front." She laughed nervously, her voice way too high. "You scared me. I didn't even see you back there." I didn't respond. I shifted forward, moving slowly into the passenger seat. My bones felt heavy, but it wasn't from the work shift anymore. April kept glancing sideways at me. Were you awake just now?" I shrugged, dozed off. She nodded quickly, too quickly. "Right, of course. Yeah." I didn't even realize the Bluetooth was still synced. That was, Josh from work. I didn't look at her. I watched the road ahead, empty and golden under the early morning sun. She kept talking. "He's like, super flirty with everyone. Totally inappropriate sometimes," she added, laughing like it was ridiculous. "But that's just how he is. You know those kinds of people? Always joking, always calling people beautiful and whatever. He's harmless." Still, I said nothing. I saw her grip the wheel a little tighter. "I mean," she went on, "he's like that with everyone. Even Donna from HR. I swear he once told her he had a dream about her and her dog. Totally weird guy." I turned to look at her then, slow and deliberate. Her eyes flicked to me for half a second before going back to the road. She was lying. Not because of what she said, but because of how she said it. That nervous laugh, that fake, bubbly energy. the flood of words. April hated over-explaining, always said it made people sound guilty. "You okay?" she asked after a long silence. "You're being kind of quiet." "I'm tired," I said. She gave a weak laugh. "Right, sorry, you looked like a ghost for a second." I rested my head against the window and closed my eyes again. She didn't speak after that, just turned up the music a little louder and kept driving like nothing had happened. I didn't say it out loud, but the silence between us screamed louder than any fight we'd ever had. Whatever this was between us, it was starting to rot, and both of us could smell it. Only one of us was still pretending it was a rose. I knew the voice I heard. I knew the tone. That wasn't just a colleague. That was something else, something closer, something real. She was lying, and I was done pretending not to notice. It started with the morning walks. About 3 weeks after that car ride, April began waking up early, earlier than usual anyway, for what she called clearing her head. She said she needed fresh air before work, said it helped her feel balanced. At first, I didn't think much of it. She'd throw on leggings and a hoodie, slip on her sneakers, and be out the door before I even brewed coffee. But April had never been a morning person, not once in the 3 years we'd lived together. I used to joke that she didn't become human until after 11 and half a bagel. Now she was out walking before 7. I noticed other things too. Her phone was always face down now, on the kitchen table, the nightstand, even the bathroom counter, always screen down, like even the light from a notification might give something away. She started dressing different, not sloppy, she never had been, but intentional. Her wardrobe went from casual cute to business sexy. More blouses with plunging necklines, pencil skirts with just a little more curve, heels when she used to wear flats. When I asked about it, she said she wanted to feel more powerful at work. "I'm presenting more these days," she said, sipping coffee without looking at me. "It's important to look the part." I wanted to believe her. God knows I tried. We were both tired people. We both had jobs that ate away at us. Maybe she was just finding herself. Maybe this was growth, evolution. But some mornings, she came back from her walks flushed and distracted. She'd check her phone mid-toast, smile at something she didn't share, and disappear into the shower without a word. One night, after she fell asleep, I opened her drawer looking for a spare phone charger. What I found instead made my stomach turn. It was a delicate black and red lingerie set, still wrapped in tissue paper at the bottom of her sock drawer, tags still attached. It wasn't her usual style. It wasn't anything close to what she wore for me, and I hadn't seen it on her once. I stared at it for a long time before putting it back exactly where I found it. The next evening, I asked her about it. I didn't accuse, just asked. "Oh my God," she said, laughing nervously. That was a gag gift from our holiday party. You should have seen the look on my boss's face when he opened his. She kept laughing, shaking her head like it was the silliest thing. Then she changed the subject, asked what I wanted for dinner. Like I hadn't just asked her why she had brand new lingerie hidden in a drawer she never used. And like a coward, I let it go. I told myself she was just stressed. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was tired from back-to-back shifts, that I was paranoid because of that one phone call in the car, that I was reading too much into it all, but I knew better. Sometimes love doesn't end in explosions or screaming matches. Sometimes it dies in the silence between words, in the new perfume, the lies that sound too practiced, the drawer that doesn't open anymore, and I felt it happening. Whatever we had, it was slipping through my hands and I was pretending not to notice. By December, I stopped pretending. I started noticing everything, not in the way a jealous boyfriend looks for fights, but the way a man watches a house he built start to crack at the foundation. April's behavior didn't just shift, it transformed. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. Her excuses grew lazy, predictable. "I've got a late dinner with some clients," she'd say, not even looking up from her mirror as she applied a red lipstick I hadn't seen before. "You're in marketing, not sales," I mumbled once. She just shrugged. "Networking, babe, it's all the same now." Her late nights piled up. So did the disappearing acts, the hour-long grocery runs where she came back with a single bag of chips and a bottle of wine. The day trip to Albuquerque with no pictures, no receipts, no tan lines. And still, I didn't confront her. I watched, I waited. One night in mid-January, she was in the shower after another one of her work events. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced over. No name, just a number. But the preview said enough. Had a dream about you last night. Can't wait to see you again. The air in the room went still. I didn't open the message. Didn't snoop. I didn't need to. Everything I had been avoiding was right there in that tiny screen. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her phone, my mind completely quiet. I thought I'd feel something big, rage, heartbreak, maybe that pit-in-the-stomach panic you get when something good ends. But all I felt was clarity. It was like someone turned off the static in my head. I stood up and walked to the kitchen, opened my laptop, and started making a list. By the time she came out of the shower, I was sipping a glass of water at the counter, nodding along to whatever small talk she made. I smiled when she kissed my cheek. I asked about her event like nothing had changed, but everything had. Within the next week, I opened a new checking account in my name only. I rerouted my direct deposit. I found a one-bedroom apartment in Santa Fe, quiet and clean, close enough to the hospital, but far enough from her. I started boxing up the things she never noticed. The books I loved, my dad's watch, the sneakers I wore on our first road trip. Little pieces of myself I realized I hadn't seen in a while. Every night she came home late, I packed one more box. Every time she lied to my face, I smiled a little less. She kept trying to sell the fantasy, that everything was normal, that she was just tired, that we were fine. But I was already gone. Maybe she didn't notice, or maybe she didn't care. By February, I stopped wondering. There was no more doubt, no more bargaining with myself in the middle of the night. April wasn't just slipping away, she had already left, emotionally, mentally, maybe even physically. The woman who used to cuddle up on my chest and talk about buying a fixer-upper in Taos now scrolled silently on her phone while we ate dinner. We sat across from each other like co-workers in a break room. I started digging, not out of spite, but out of necessity. I needed to know just how far gone we were. One night, after she left her laptop open on the kitchen table, I checked the browser history. I told myself I wasn't snooping, that it was just curiosity. What I found wasn't just a breadcrumb trail, it was a whole damn map. Flight confirmations to Denver, hotel bookings under her name, but only for one guest. Venmo payments to someone named Leo B, with messages like, for wine and best night ever. A saved folder of photos, private ones. Her in lingerie I'd never seen, posing in hotel mirrors I didn't recognize. I felt sick. I sat back in the chair, blinking at the screen as her betrayal spread out in pixels. It wasn't just the affair, it was everything that came with it. The lying, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the way she had made me question my instincts for months while she lived a separate life. I didn't confront her, I didn't say a word, I just copied everything. Emails, receipts, photos, screenshots of texts she thought she had hidden. I saved them to a drive labeled tax docs and stashed it in my work bag. That night, she came home late, again, and tossed her purse onto the couch like always. Sorry, she said, pulling off her heels. Got stuck in traffic after dinner with Michelle and Jasmine. I nodded slowly, closing the folder on my computer. Long night? She didn't even look at me. Yeah, exhausting. And that was it. No guilt, no shame, no hesitation. She wasn't sorry because she didn't think she'd done anything wrong. Or maybe she just didn't care anymore if I knew. I stopped asking where she'd been. I stopped pretending to care when she made excuses. I started sleeping in the guest room with the door locked. I stopped washing her laundry. Stopped adding her favorites to the grocery list. Stopped texting her at work just to say hi. It was like we were roommates who couldn't stand each other, but only one of us realized it. And still, she never asked what changed. Maybe because she was too busy texting Leo. Maybe because she thought I'd never leave. But I was already halfway gone, 1 foot out the door, bank account rerouted, keys to a Santa Fe apartment in my glove box. What broke me wasn't the affair. It was the ease with which she lied to my face. The way she'd sit at our kitchen table, sipping wine, telling me about imaginary friends while the truth buzzed in her phone. The moment I realized she could look me in the eye and not flinch, that's when I knew I wasn't coming back. The last box was in my trunk, wedged between 2 garbage bags full of folded clothes and a dusty guitar I hadn't touched in over a year. My new apartment in Santa Fe was ready. Nothing fancy, just a clean space, no memories, no ghosts. The kind of place where silence didn't feel heavy. I'd made the move in pieces over the past 2 weeks, leaving just enough at the house so April wouldn't notice. She barely asked questions anymore anyway. The distance between us had become the new normal. I didn't even bother saying goodbye that morning when I left for what would be the final time. But fate had its own sense of irony. That afternoon, April had taken my car, something she'd started doing more often since hers needed new tires. I didn't argue. I didn't care. I was done giving her reasons to call me controlling. She texted around 4. Got your car, heading to grab coffee then home. Need anything? I didn't reply. By the time I got back to the house to drop off the last spare key, her purse was on the counter and the sound of her voice echoed from the garage. I paused, confused. Then I heard it clearly, through the open Bluetooth speaker in the car. It connected automatically when she started the engine. Leo's voice filled the garage, smooth and smug, casual like he owned the place. God, I still can't believe you're getting away with this, he said with a chuckle. Your boyfriend's either the dumbest man alive or he just doesn't care. April laughed. He's not dumb, just tired. I tell him anything and he buys it. You're lucky, Leo said. I couldn't keep a straight face if I had to lie to someone every day. Oh, you'd be surprised what you can pull off when someone's that checked out, she replied. Anyway, he's out of the picture soon. I'm just waiting for the right time. I opened the door to the garage. She was behind the wheel, hands still on the gear shift, frozen. Her eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. She didn't say a word at first. Leo's voice kept going. You coming over tonight or what? She fumbled with her phone and hung up the call, then turned slowly in her seat. Mark, don't, I said. She scrambled out of the car, arms slightly raised like she was about to explain at the parking ticket. It's not what it sounded like. I stared at her. It's exactly what it sounded like. Just wait, okay? I've heard enough, I said calmly. I'm not here to fight. I just came to leave the key. She blinked. Wait, what do you mean? I reached into my pocket and placed the spare key on the edge of the garage workbench. You won't have to lie anymore. She moved toward me, fast, panicked now. You can't just walk away like this, Mark. But I already had. No anger, no yelling, just silence, and the sound of the door closing behind me. I left the divorce papers on the kitchen counter, neatly stacked, signed, notarized, with a yellow post-it on top that said, "No need to contact me, everything's handled." There was no confrontation, no last-minute fight, no begging or door slamming. I didn't need it. I'd already packed what mattered and made my life fit into 2 closets and a truck bed. I was done. April texted 3 times that week, all short. We should talk. Is this really happening? You're making a huge mistake. I didn't respond. The only sound she got from me was the hum of absence. Back in Santa Fe, I found peace in the small things. The quiet of a 1-bedroom apartment, the freedom of cooking for one. I hung my coat without thinking about where hers used to go. No more half-empty wine bottles on the counter. No more perfume lingering in the bathroom. Just clean air and silence. I opened a woodworking shop 2 blocks off the plaza, something I'd always wanted but never had the time or clarity to pursue. The kind of place where the smell of cedar and sawdust replaced the sterile scent of hospital antiseptic. I made tables, cabinets, even birdhouses, whatever came to mind. Customers came in, browsed, asked questions. I liked the way conversations stayed simple, rooted in wood and craft instead of games and lies. About a month later, April's world cracked open. Leo had a wife. She found out through social media, of all places. A furious post from a woman named Naomi, showing screenshots, photos, receipts. Leo wasn't just cheating with April. He was cheating with 3 different women. One of them was pregnant, and he was broke. Apparently, he'd been selling April dreams and compliments while siphoning her money behind the scenes. She'd covered flights, hotels, even paid off one of his credit cards. He ghosted her the moment the truth came out. I didn't see any of it firsthand, but the fallout made it to me anyway. A former coworker of April's messaged me on Facebook out of the blue. She's a mess, Mark. You probably don't care, but it's bad. He was right. I didn't care. Not out of bitterness, but because I'd already buried that chapter. That life wasn't mine anymore. And then one morning, I met Savannah. She came into the shop looking for a custom bookshelf. She had kind eyes and paint on her hands. An art teacher from Shimayo recently moved back after a decade in Chicago. We talked about grain patterns and design preferences. Then somehow the conversation turned to hiking trails and tamales. I didn't tell her anything about April, not at first. Some stories are meant to stay in the past. We had coffee the following weekend. She laughed easily, asked real questions, listened. I liked the way she looked at me, not with suspicion, not with expectation, just curiosity. Like I was someone worth knowing, not someone to fix or manipulate. We didn't fall in love that day. That's not how real life works. But something began. For the first time in years, I woke up without a knot in my chest. No gut check texts, no excuses to rehearse. Just a quiet morning in a quiet place. April used to call that boring. I call it peace, and I'm not trading it for anything.